is that?
I think I might be a black woman trapped in a white man's body.
I like a little bit of brown sugar myself, to be quite honest.
My name is Loqueesha.
You want me to admit it? There, I said it. You are a better black woman than I am, okay?
My mama, she called me Loqueesha's Loqueesha.
Are you blackmailing me?
No, I'm black femaling you.
Well, if you know what it's called, then get busy, girlfriend.
Damn, that feels good, girl. You know I'm telling you, my belly is full. I couldn't eat another thing. You know what the doctor said about fasting too much?
I am the great and powerful Loqueesha.
I am Loqueesha.
Nobody hates up on me.
I'm Laquisha.
What is the worst film you've ever seen? I honestly find this question just as difficult to answer as what are the best films you've ever seen? Now, I love bottom-of-the-barrel films. I usually find them really funny. But truly bad movies often escape my memory or just have nothing special going on for them. They're usually the result of complete mediocrity, something that makes you ever regret wanting to put them on. Stuff like the RoboCop remake or The Last Airbender by M. Night Shyamalan. Or they're just extremely offensive in some way, shape, or form, like the Twilight films, based on horribly written book portrayals of toxic romance and turning a real-life Native American tribe into a bunch of shape-shifting child groomers.
Should I start calling you Dad?
But now, that question isn't so difficult to answer anymore because I figured out a worthy contender for one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's called Loqueesha.
My name is Loqueesha, and we gonna be talking.
The name is already an indicator of what you can expect from the film, Loqueesha. The posters even give you a pretty good taste of what you can expect, but figuring out what this film actually is about becomes a whole new world of cringe. While I watched this film, I noticed a few reviews comparing this to Soul Man, and they're not exactly wrong. I mean, you know, take out the blackface, replace it with a thick, stereotypical black woman voice, and you basically have Soul Man Part 2, but with a Tommy Wiseau style production where the main actor is also the producer, director, and one of the two writers.
I am Loqueesha, officer.
I almost wish this was a meme. It sounds like an SNL parody, but this is a real film. Not only is it a real film, it is currently one of the lowest rated films on Letterboxd, with a weighted average of 0.9 out of 5 stars. For reference, films like Food Fight and Dragon Ball Evolution are at about 0.8 out of 5. So being only 0.1 points higher is not much of a feat worth bragging about. Hell, it's so bad that the co-writer for the film gave this half a star on Letterboxd. Now, aside from all that information, combined with a couple of articles, there really isn't much that I could find on this film specifically, so I decided to turn in the direction of the big man himself.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Seville, and welcome to the Seriously Funny Comedy channel here on YouTube.
Loqueesha is the brainchild of a comedian, director, writer named Jeremy Seville. I'll be honest, I don't really know that much about him aside from the really small resume that he has online. Apart from directing films like The Test and Loqueesha, he's done quite a few short films, has some experience in stand-up, he showed up in an episode of Modern Family, and has a small but decent presence on social media.
What the hell are you looking at, you goddamn kids? What the hell?
And he had an ongoing series on his YouTube channel where he parodied Donald Trump. There's not too much else that I know about, though. I know he's been working toward a career in Hollywood for a while, and he's put a lot of time, money, and effort into it. I wanted to know as much as possible about Loqueesha and Jeremy before going into this video, but the only info that I could really find comes from all of the controversy behind the project, which I'm gonna save my thoughts on for a little later. I guess the best I can assume is that he just made his money and then probably is working on new projects. For the most part, a lot of what happened after the release of Laquisha has been pretty quiet, so this is all I got.
Better wash these hands, man. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Rocky. Happy birthday to me.
Honestly, I just wish this section was a little bit longer, but there really wasn't anything of note. I turned to his YouTube channel for something, but the content there is just strange.
Don't we have the right to enjoy this country?
I feel your pain, bro, because my father wasn't from this country. So it was hard for him to get a job because he couldn't speak the language.
There's a lot of weird content that he produces out there, stuff that is definitely reminiscent of that older YouTube era of skit comedy.
I sit in judgment of you, interracial couple.
What the?
Motherfucker.
Yeah, weird little sketches, strange parodies, all that fun stuff.
President Bush?
That's right, Bob. I'm counting on you to do the right thing for your country.
It's something. I guess some of you might like it, but it was definitely not for me. It's cute and really bizarre, which isn't all that shocking given how that translated into Loqueesha, his magnum opus.
I once pulled the Soul Man.
When I saw this for the first time, I went in mostly blind. My friend asked if I wanted to watch one of the worst films ever made, and I said, yes, that's literally it. The only thing I knew was that it was one of the lowest rated films on Letterboxd. One of the biggest concerns was still the whole subject material. As I watched it with my friend, I saw a couple of reviews comparing this to Soul Man, a film about a rich white boy who impersonates a black man in order to get a full Harvard tuition.
What you looking at?
And seeing the poster, I was afraid that there was going to be a blackface fatsuit. Thankfully, this was not the case, but the alternative was not much better. The friend that I watched this with broke pretty quickly, and he openly said that he regret putting this movie on pretty much throughout the whole film, and that was funnier than anything in this entire movie. So to illustrate my point, I'm gonna give you a full plot synopsis. If you would rather watch the movie beforehand, then it's available on Tubi, which is a free streaming service with ads. If you don't want to spend money, then check it out there. I'm spoiling the whole plot for the rest of the class. To be fair, the plot isn't all that complex, but there is a weird amount of content to discuss here. The opening scene is already a sign that things were gonna go horribly wrong, especially when I put two and two together that Seville was not only the director, the producer, and a writer for Laquisha, but the main goddamn character. His name is Joe. He's a bartender, and he apparently has a knack for giving anyone just the right advice for their predicaments. It's not subtle the way this is introduced, since the script needed some bar patron to give Joe a nice session of verbal fellatio.
Joe, I've been coming to this bar for 10 years now, and it never ceases to amaze me that you always seem to say the right thing to just the right person.
Then an angry woman walks into the bar, and Joe immediately decides to pry into the source of her anger.
Men!
Something tells me this is a relationship issue.
This turns into an argument about men, which leads into...
Mahatma, what do you want for dinner? Oh, it's all right. I had something out. What? You know, curry, madras, lentil, dal. You name it. Mahatma, you've been fasting again, haven't you? No, I'm telling you, my belly is full. I couldn't eat another thing. You know what the doctor said about fasting too much?
And then we get to this guy's most defining character trait, the one thing that he gets praise for. Joe gives good advice, but he's an asshole. He tells it like it is and doesn't give a damn about your liberal tears. His advice amounts to, I'm not falling for your victim act, men aren't that bad, and it's also your fault that you let him lie and cheat on you, so you're actually worse than him.
You want your guy to tame the truthless tongue? Stop indulging him. If you're gonna play enabler, you're just as guilty as he is. Actually, you're worse, because you're lying to yourself. So, who's got the problem?
This is right about where I started to dislike this film, because apparently this character trait is such an incredible gift, because immediately after giving her this incorrect advice, she gives him a cash tip and tells him how amazing it was.
Game, set, and match.
I'm sorry, but this isn't all that unique of a character trait. Like, half the people that I know are blunt and honest with their advice, and I don't fucking pay them because of it. But also, is it really all that impressive to be this way? I've seen this exact same shtick before, and I gotta tell you, it's not endearing. It's just kind of a gimmick. What does some bartender in Detroit bring to the table? He can do a really bad impersonation of Gandhi? Wowee, Joe, do I start with the balls or just take the whole shaft?
For a guy who's just talking to himself, sure to make a lot of sense for the rest of us.
We're then introduced to Laquisha's inciting incident, the big reason why she is about to exist. Joe meets with his ex-wife.
What's wrong?
Nothing. In fact, it's good news.
Hi, getting the sex change.
I don't know, Joe, is that finally gonna rekindle the broken marriage? So it turns out that Joe's son is academically gifted, and the ex-wife wants to enroll him in a prestigious school of some sort, but expects Joe to pay for the full tuition on a bartender's pay rate.
$13,000 a semester? That's like college tuition.
So yeah, I mean, they're at each other's throats, but he cares for his son. It's a baseline character trait, but at least that something likable about Joe, and I guess he supports trans rights?
Hi, getting the sex change.
Yeah, sure, let's, we'll go with that. That lady from before returns to the bar with flowers and a casual suggestion that he should become a local radio host. Joe is pretty modest in the fact that he's just a bartender that listens to people's problems for free, but she shames him for that?
You're one of those guys. You know, the ones that preach from on high, but then when push comes to shove, they make excuses for not doing the right thing.
Okay, so he decides to give it a try and records a demo with the girl, but they don't accept him. We cut to the next day where...
Shut your mouth and mind your own business. You can't take care of your business. That's why your man got me taking care of it for him, okay?
See, that's who needs their own show. That's who they want. They want women and minorities. They don't want white guys like me telling them what to do. If I was a black woman, I'd be perfect.
So you can just stop all that noise.
Yep, that's how it happens. He just so happens to be watching trash TV and then realizes that he can bypass the job request by impersonating a black woman that is named Loqueesha.
Live with Loqueesha. Hey, Laquisha. My name's Ted. Ted rhymes with dead. You sound dead inside.
You know, as we all do.
You go, girl. See, that's who needs their own show.
Glad to see you're working so hard, Joe.
I got a smartphone.
But you said you hated smartphones.
I was smartphone. I got about 100,000 smartphone friends now. Smartphone.
So he sent that Loqueesha demo to the radio station and somehow it got accepted?
We are pleased to say we really enjoyed your submission. We'd very much like to invite you to the station so we can discuss the possibilities.
I knew it! Want Laquisha?
I guess Joe has 100 sneak and speechcraft because no one noticed that these demos have character voices that sound almost identical to each other, and he doesn't sound anything like a woman. He just sounds like Norm Macdonald.
Hi, getting the sex change. I walked through blood and bones in the streets of Manhattan trying to find my brother.
Then Joe starts talking about the scenario to this drunk guy.
Try me, I'm pretty well, so I'll believe anything at this point.
This dude's acting is something else. I mean, everyone else is not the greatest actor, but this guy right here kind of steals the show.
Well, congratulations.
They rejected me.
Oh, well, congratulations then.
There's acting drunk, and then there's hamming it up, but this is akin to teenagers on placebos.
I like a little bit of brown sugar myself, to be quite honest.
Oh, and there's that. We then get a scene at this radio station where they're desperate for radio listeners since no one tunes into the radio like they did before. I mean, no duh. So the son of the radio guy plays the Loqueesha demo reel, and they both think that this is God's gift to the radio industry. He gets the job, but apparently he didn't plan for the part where he'd have to set up a job interview. You know, the part where he has to verify his identity as a black woman. So they do an audio interview, and Joe has to come up with a way to maintain his anonymity. And they're not buying it because they're not stupid. So Joe decides to create a lie that's thinly veiled as a thread.
Did you see the Jennifer Hudson trial where her brother-in-law killed her entire family? Well, I got some men out there, if they knew where I was, would want to do some nasty-ass shit to me, and maybe to you fellas, too.
Why the hell would you say this during a job interview?
Why?
Why do people do crazy things? Why do men hate in Star Wars? Because they ain't right in their head, okay? I'm gonna try to fix people so they get right, but I can't do that if I'm dead.
I guess I was wrong about them not being idiots because Joe talks them into his demands and he officially gets to host his new radio show called Live with Loqueesha, which is basically a 3-hour block late at night where he gives advice to desperate callers. He decides to get a patron at the bar to be his producer and decides to spill the beans about his sassy black woman persona, and the guy takes it surprisingly well, I guess, but he's still concerned about Joe being caught.
What if we get caught?
We're not gonna get caught.
That's what every criminal thinks.
This is not a crime. It's theater.
Uh-huh.
No, it's it's still very much a crime. I mean, we're not talking about Rachel Dolezal here, where she just lied about her race. This is a white guy fabricating the existence of a completely non-existent human being for a job, especially a job that was specifically looking for women and minorities. That's literally fraud. Anywho, they go to the studio and start their show. They repeat that stupid line about how the crime that they're committing isn't a crime.
It's gonna be great. Remember, it's not a crime. It's theater.
And then the cancel culture bait begins.
Okay, stop. Laquisha don't play that. Or you just wonder, what's it all about, Laquisha? You call me up and we're gonna make it right together. Next caller.
Hi, Loqueesha. My name's Dan.
No, it ain't. Any man with a rash is not worth holding on to. Get rid of him. These are some people, I know them through my sister-in-law. I don't know how it works, but all I can tell you is they don't charge you as some sort of charity. I think it's called mercy, fuck.
So apparently the night goes well. I guess they were banking on the fact that no one else in this universe even suspects that this person sounds nothing like a woman.
Well done.
Thank you.
I don't know what I'm more impressed by, you as a black woman or your therapy techniques.
So every call ever goes pretty smoothly. But the biggest problem with this film, okay, obviously not the biggest problem, but the advice that Joe gives is terrible. His speech to the girl early in the film was obnoxious and insulting, but these call segments aren't much better. I guess people would excuse this because Laquisha is a comedic film, but that kind of requires the writing to be funny in the first place. I've given movies a pass on their plot before since comedies tend to defy logic in service of the comedic scenarios, but since I'm not laughing, all we're really watching is failed attempts at humor and Joe giving people really bad advice.
I know, but he has to change.
Only thing he gotta change is his address and get witness protection because you out your mind.
You go, girl.
And worse yet is that, just like before, people are still receptive to the advice and are somehow enamored by Laquisha. So yeah, apparently Laquisha is becoming a citywide sensation. This late night call-in show listened to by people who work graveyard shifts is apparently becoming a big deal.
You go, girl.
I listened to Advice Corner Radio like this growing up, in this exact format at the exact time slot, and I don't think a single person even gave a damn about them. They certainly weren't this big. Oh, you guys want to see the greatest scene in the film? So someone calls into Loqueesha's show and actually accuses her of racism.
Learning anything?
Yeah, that you're a racist bitch.
Excuse me?
And no, it's not because someone figured out that she's actually a straight white dude pretending to be a black woman.
Heard me. Always saying how white people do this and white men are like that.
What the hell would you know about being a white guy anyway?
You have no right to call him names just because he was white.
Until you've walked a mile in a white man's shoes.
I suggest you shut the hell up.
Yay! So Laquisha fires back by breaking this man's life down bit by bit, psychoanalyzing his straight white gamer rage. But unlike what most angry callers would do, every single correct assumption that Laquisha gives about his life, he just admits to it.
You don't understand me one bit.
Oh, I understand you perfectly.
You unemployed.
How'd you know that?
You tune the dial to Loqueesha and you start listening. I
Make a whole lot of sense to you.
Some.
You in your 50s, right, Don?
Early 50s.
How long you been unemployed, son?
9 months.
In her case, she pregnant. In yours, you fired.
I was laid off.
9 months later, you still going through the grieving process. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression.
Yeah, so?
Job?
Let go of it. It didn't suit you anyway.
How do you know?
Did it?
Not really. I was pretty miserable. I hated my boss.
Has Jeremy Seville ever seen a confrontation like this before? There's no way in hell anyone would just admit to their pathetic life, no matter how accurate the analysis is. Usually these types of people would drop some kind of racial slur as a counterattack or fire back with hot bants. A guy all fired up like this is probably not gonna cuck down so easily, but I guess he's just an open book here. Though the advice here mostly amounts to, you're not actually mad at me, you're just mad that your life is miserable and you want to take it out on me. Guess there was an attempt to discuss racial issues, or namely the fact that angry white men are bitter about black people with progressive viewpoints having a louder voice than the standard protocol. I don't particularly care since this is the only time it comes up, and it slowly became less of a focus in this scene. It just kind of came to a grinding halt until the call just comes to an end.
Always saying how white people do this, white men are like that.
What the hell would you know about being a white guy anyway?
I think I know quite a bit.
Oh, do you? That's like
Saying I know what it's like to be a black woman.
So we see a lot more coverage of Laquisha's show and how people think she's the 8th wonder of the world.
Laquisha's a genius. She tuned into what my problem was in 2 minutes. She's like the new Freud of the airwaves.
It's her direct, no-nonsense style that appeals to me. Plus, she's hilarious. She doesn't let anyone get away with anything.
And because of this, they decide to move Live with Loqueesha to drive time radio slots. For listeners, more money, more media coverage, all the works.
When it comes to TV, when it comes to radio, when it comes to anything in the media entertainment realm, you will not just get a job like that on that type of level that quickly. And that's something I didn't like. I didn't like the portrayal of, okay, just because you're a minority, just because you're a woman, just because you're black, essentially, you're going to get this role because you're different. You're going to get this role because people want you, because you're diverse. You're not just gonna go fresh out of college, apply for a radio on-air job and get it. Okay, that's an extremely rare thing. Like, I don't even think it's ever happened, okay?
Though Joe's producer senses more issues coming from the slot. Since Laquisha is becoming a celebrity, more people are gonna want to know about her, and it's not gonna be any easier to keep up the charade. And like I said before, I had automatically assumed that they were going in the direction of blackface or some kind of equally insulting equivalent, but I was relieved to find out that they don't go this route. Instead, they set up an audition to hire a black actress to be the public face of Loqueesha.
Hello, everybody. So good to see y'all. How y'all doing? So good to be here today. Woo! Woo!
And they find a woman named Renee to do the part.
Sweet Jesus, I knew you wouldn't let me down. This was the role I was born to play. This movie's gonna do for me what Dreamgirls did for Jennifer Hudson. Hallelujah!
Also, if you caught the audio quality there, no, that wasn't me. That is literally how the audio sounds in the movie because of the 2 different angles that it's being recorded at.
I knew you wouldn't let me down. This was the role I was born to play. This movie's gonna...
Renee is a big fan of Laquisha, figures out that Laquisha is a figment of Joe's imagination, and still goes along with the plan.
I just love my fans, and I'm so glad they love me back so much.
Yeah, sure, why not? I guess when you're the director, writer, and star of your own film, literally anything is possible. So now we're at the halfway point of the movie, and everything seems to be working out perfectly for Joe and Laquisha. The show is a hit, everyone is listening in, everyone loves her advice, and now it's much easier to keep the ruse going. Look, they even put me in the film. So, everybody wins. Next up is Joe giving his ex-wife a big fat stack of cash, doing a nice thing for his kid, and then we immediately get back to this film being an insulting disaster.
This is Loqueesha. Who am I speaking to?
Hi, Laquisha. This is Rachel.
Hello, Rachel.
That girl at the beginning of the film who tried to get Joe a job as a radio host calls into Laquisha's show, and Joe ends up using this opportunity to fish out the information that she has a massive crush on Joe, and then pushes her in the direction of pursuing Joe romantically and probably sexually.
My advice to you is that if this guy is as great as you say he is,
And he must be, because he reminds you of Loqueesha.
he is going to welcome you with open arms and see the spectacular being that you are.
And more importantly, he will facilitate the becoming of that being.
Isn't this manipulation? Sure, she's admitting that she wants to pursue him, but leading her for your own personal gain is still pretty objectionable, my dude. And you'd think that the night would go smoothly, but then we get to the weirdest section of the film, and it legitimately broke me.
Damn, that feels good, girl.
Why are you doing Laquisha now?
Get some!
Okay, now it's officially strange. Then what was that?
I think I might be a black woman trapped in a white man's body.
You're gay?
No, I'm not gay. I'm just very confused right now.
So then the movie takes a break from the initial story to have Joe experience an identity crisis or some kind of dissociative identity disorder where Laquisha is now becoming a dominant personality in his head.
Tell me about it. It's like the whole city has Laquisha mania.
Long live Loqueesha!
Okay. I'm gonna let you go with a warning.
After talking to his mom,
I don't even know how to tell you this.
What? That you're a racist? And a misogynist? That you won't even listen to her because she has a vagina and darker skin?
he dedicates an entire section of his show to having an external monologue between himself and the Laquisha personality in an attempt to work out this weird split personality side plot.
We got Joe on the show. How you doing, Joe? I'm good. No, you ain't. People good don't call Laquisha. Fair enough. I'm the fairest of them all. I'm Snow Black. Now, what's your problem? I'm conflicted.
A side plot that only lasts 10 minutes and ends pretty abruptly.
My advice to you is don't be afraid of any part of you. The man, the woman, the black, the white, the Chinese, the Mexican, the Christian, the Jew, the Muslim, the vegetarian, the carnivore, the Republican, the Democrat, the homeless bum, the billionaire. We need all of them to be whole. And that's the healing you gotta do, Joe. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you deny her, she just gonna take you over.
The next call, I shit you not, in a movie that lots of people are already calling racist, transphobic, and homophobic.
Hi, getting the sex change.
Are you pre-op transgender?
No, I'm very much this gender, and I am not swapping out parts.
Laquisha takes a call from a woman standing on the railing of a bridge and is about to commit suicide.
I'm on a bridge above the river, and I'm gonna jump.
But thanks for calling. Enjoy your jump.
What?
You said you jumping.
I am.
I thank you for calling. I said enjoy your jump.
Can't you see I need help?
What I can see is somebody looking for some attention.
I certainly don't want to be the last person on earth to let you down, so I think you should jump. That way, you get a whole bunch of attention.
And if you commit suicide on my show, I'm gonna get national coverage. I'm gonna be famous. So it's in my best interest that you plunge to your death right now. So go ahead, Doris. Make everybody happy. Do what you gotta do.
It's one thing to tell a woman in a bad relationship that it's her fault and that she's worse. And then it's one thing to have really contrived scenes with unbelievable dialogue exchanges, but this one really takes the discount Walmart cake for me. I get the idea of what's being said, but it's really the last thing to tell a suicidal person seeking help, or seeking a reason not to kill themselves. Telling them to just do it and enjoy the attention that they desire is pretty deplorable, let alone telling them that they don't care about themselves.
No.
Well, then what do you want?
I want somebody to care about me.
How about you?
Me.
Yeah. Why don't you set an example for the rest of us and
Give a shit about yourself.
I care about me.
No, you don't. Anybody who would squander such a precious gift as life
Does not give a rat's ass about theyself.
I don't care if this is a comedy, the scene is being played pretty seriously, like one of those breaks in a comedy for deep emotional moments. Oh, but you see, it gets better because Laquisha gives her a reason to keep on living by telling her to go to Paris for a vacation.
I've always wanted to go.
You never been to Paris and you gonna kill yourself? Shit, girl. Here's what I would do if I was you. I would fly myself to Paris. I would fall in love with it. I go to the Champs-Elysees. I eat at a cafe. Hand me a croissant.
Sure, I'm on it, boss, because we all have enough disposable income to buy an expensive plane ticket, a hotel suite, and fund a full vacation of Eiffel Towers, indie movies, and authentic croissants. So this insulting monologue works, and it gets a lot of ass-kissing news coverage, followed by yet another montage of people giving their approval to Laquisha. Hell, apparently Oprah Winfrey's television network wants to host a live talk show with Laquisha.
I got an offer from Oprah's network to do a Laquisha live TV show.
You're kidding me.
No, they emailed this morning.
So literally everything ever works in his favor because of this moment. At this rate, I wouldn't be shocked if Jeremy Seville was just invited into the Avengers. Although Joe turns down the television opportunity and Renee is pretty pissed about it.
Are you out of your motherfucking mind?
What the hell are you doing here? Get in here. Are you crazy? What if somebody saw you out there? You could ruin our whole operation.
You turned down a show on Oprah's network?
Who told you that?
What difference does it make? Why are you turning down motherfucking TV shows?
And she's convinced that she's able to do what Joe does, and Joe tells her that it's more complicated than it seems, but in this universe, it seems like anyone can just give terrible advice and be famous.
Well, you play her, but you're not her.
Oh, I'm having a bizarre conversation with a white boy.
I know it's a bizarre conversation, and I know I'm a white boy, but I am her, and she is me.
I am thou art I.
Renee, you do a great job with personal appearances, but the therapy, it's just not your thing.
Who cares? I'll pretend, just like you do. I'm an actress. I'll pretend to care about the people and their little problems, and I'll tell them the same shit you do. It's not that hard.
It's a lot more complex than it seems, okay? And I can't have you out there compromising Laquisha's integrity.
Plus, Joe isn't some sort of therapist or any professional expert. He's just a bartender committing fraud. So this whole speech is basically for nothing.
I didn't steal anybody's identity. I made her up.
Oh, you're an identity thief. You might not be an individual identity thief, but you're a cultural identity thief. You done stole an entire culture's identity, not to mention the genders, and co-opted it for your own little charade. So we got a new deal, Joe. From now on, everything Loqueesha makes, we split 70-30.
Why in a million years would I take that deal?
Because if you don't, I would tell everybody. And I do mean everybody.
Are you blackmailing me?
No, I'm black femaling you.
After this, Joe spends some time with his son, which leads to a weird conversation where Joe realizes that what he's doing is not worth it in the end.
Would you love me less if I didn't have all this money?
No, we just get to do a lot less fun things. Why? You gonna quit your job?
But what about your school?
What about it?
You really love it?
Like I said, it's cool, but I really love you, Dad. And I don't want you to get sick because of me.
So he decides to retire Laquisha.
But tonight, due to personal reasons, I'm signing off for good.
Renee isn't happy about it and then decides to continue the show on her own, but fails miserably because she can't stand listening to anyone's problems.
I'm tired of listening to all your pathetic stories. You're just a bunch of weak people trying to suck my power, and I'm not having it anymore. I'm powerful. And you scared because I tell people off. You wish you could. You're jealous.
No, I'm not jealous of you at all. In fact, I kind of pity you now. You really just lost your soul.
I didn't lose my soul. I just evolved.
No, that's not how it is.
Don't you dare goddammit tell me how it is. You understand me? You called me. This is my show. I tell you how it is. I'm an evolved soul, and you can't handle it because you're ignorant. So you're hating on me. You like the Romans who nailed up our Lord and Savior. You a murderous cretin, and I'm God, like, so that's what I'm talking. Hello? Hello? Did you just hang up on me? Oh, no. I'm Loqueesha. Don't nobody hang up on me. I do the hanging up, goddammit. Hello? Hello? I am the great and powerful Loqueesha. Nobody hangs up on me.
The ratings start to tank, and then she decides to take a break, and then goes to Joe to talk about her performance, and god damn it, I just about lost it here.
Laquisha had an on-air meltdown comparing herself to God and the Wizard of Oz. Kind of hard to miss.
You gotta admit it was outrageous.
She was never meant to be outrageous. She's not a goddamn reality show or a shock jock or a clown. She listens to people, helps them on their journey. A little compassion, humor, and most of all, the unadulterated truth so they can cut through all the shit in their lives, which is a rare, precious, and much-needed thing. And you fucked it all up.
Okay. I messed up. You want me to admit it? There. I said it. You are a better black woman than I am. Okay?
She said it. See, everyone? She said it. You're not allowed to be offended because she gave Joe the black woman pass. Is this the progressive message I heard so much about in those 5-star reviews?
Again, not the point. It was never about race or gender or fame or fortune. It's about telling the truth straight from your heart without fear or worry of being wrong or bad. It was holistic healing, broadcast from the sky into the hearts and minds of anybody willing to tune in. You turn it into your egomaniacal circus, your platform for your personal power play, and now it's gone.
Oh no, wait, I guess it's this part right here. Way to save the West, Jeremy Seville. So Renee gets cut from everything Laquisha related, and Joe goes to the radio station to confess that he's actually behind the whole operation.
You used to work for Laquisha. You were one of her engineers, right?
Not an engineer.
Now I remember. You're always in that room with her like her personal posse. Wait, are you her boyfriend?
I'm not her boyfriend.
Then you got to help me out here, Joe. What exactly are you doing here?
I'm Laquisha.
Come again?
I know it's hard to believe, but I am Loqueesha.
The radio guys take it pretty well and are trying to convince Joe to keep Laquisha going even after Joe publicly confesses that he's just a white guy. I guess they're thinking that they're gonna let Laquisha live on in fictional fame, kind of like Tyler Perry and Medea.
Laquisha's a beloved character, right? And like many fictional characters, I don't think people care whether she's real or not. I mean, does knowing that Mickey Mouse is made up does make you love him any less?
No, I love Mickey.
But this is 2019 America, and they live in Detroit, so I don't know how they could possibly think this is a good idea. Joe doesn't want to keep going and just wants to be himself, but decides that he's gonna let the mob decide.
Moving forward, we can do one of three things. We can transition to the Joe Show, same exact thing, just me and my voice. Or we can continue on with Loqueesha Live, and I can channel our favorite Nubian princess, as long as everybody knows who's behind it all. Or you can vote me into radio exile. Facebook page is live, ready for your vote. You have until midnight tonight. Whatever our fate, Laquisha and I would like to express our most sincerest gratitude.
The reception is a lot of ass-kissing from all of the bar patrons and his former boss, with everyone calling him a genius.
Son of a bitch! I never would have believed it.
I'd like to buy you a drink, Joe.
Boy, this must be a special occasion.
Well, we're all very proud of you. We all think you're completely crazy, but we also think you're a freaking genius.
Probably be right on both counts.
His mom is devastated but proud for some reason.
I always knew that someday you were going to do something really big.
I just never realized you were going to do it as a black woman.
That makes two of us.
His ex-wife isn't happy about the possible cash flow not coming in, and then his son is proud of him, and the romantic interest is, needless to say, extremely pissed off.
I can't believe you were Laquisha. Boy, do I feel stupid.
She calls him out for making Laquisha sound like a racial stereotype, for manipulating her, and how he's a racist and a misogynist.
Which really means that I took advice from you about us without even knowing it.
It was good advice.
You took advantage of me, Joe. You told me exactly what I wanted to hear.
And the problem would be?
You lied. You pretended to be somebody else. You tricked me.
No, I told you the truth, as I always have. Only I did it with a theatrical device so you could actually hear it.
Oh, you are such a jerk. You think all black women sound like that? Yo, what up? How you doing? I mean, I could tell everybody like everything, but I could barely speak properly.
But his excuse is?
Why'd you have to make us sound so stupid?
Well, if she was so stupid, then why did you follow her advice?
What she said was brilliant, but this over-the-top character, that was completely idiotic.
That's what they wanted. They didn't want me. Remember? You didn't want me. You didn't want me. You didn't want me.
Would you like to join me for a drink?
Only if it's at your place.
Funny, because that's where we're having it. Joe, I hope you can forgive me for what a fool I was.
You didn't want me. You know, I might be a fake and a phony, but I am the most authentic one you will ever meet.
I know, Joe.
And then they confess their love and presumably have sex. Even after she found out that he manipulated her into this scenario before, she just gives in. The next day, the result of the poll came in, and only 20% of people voted to fire him, while the vote to keep him and keep Laquisha were tied. So now he gets to run a show where he doubles as both himself and then has a Laquisha segment.
Right now, I'm gonna hand it off to one of my favorite people and yours, who's got just one question for you. What's your problem?
Oh boy, if only they knew. Many of the positive reviews for this movie hone in on the assumption that people just hate this film because they think it's racist, and that it just suffered from the mob mentality. Everyone just hated it because they're triggered SJWs. I decided to exclude most of my opinions on all of that stuff until the next section, specifically to dispute this fact. Even without the race elements, this film suffers from god-awful writing in both the joke department and the narrative structure. Having a dated plot like this is already pushing the suspension of disbelief, especially paired with the fact that the audience that Loqueesha built up doesn't even resemble what an actual audience would portray. That argument between Joe and the old white guy was far too tame and passive to represent an actually scorned, angry white guy projecting onto a black person.
Until you've walked a mile in a white man's shoes,
I suggest you shut the hell up.
The audience reaction to Joe lying about his identity for personal and monetary reasons was astoundingly more positive than what would normally occur, especially from people who are personally close to him. We're still having public debates about the existence of cancel culture, and this movie came out during the year that the term was coined.
20% voted to can you.
Wow, 20%.
That's a lot. Wait a second. That means I still have my show. Who'd they vote for?
40% voted for Laquisha.
So that means...
It's a tie.
Everyone just seems to fillet him whenever he's not talking to his ex-wife or dealing with any slight personal issue in the plot. It has similar issues with The Room in that regard. Wiseau and Seville were in control of every aspect and were the main star. Everyone in the movie seems to worship them or shower them with everlasting praise at multiple different points.
Joe, I've been coming to this bar for 10 years now, and it never ceases to amaze me that you always seem to say the right thing to just the right person.
I don't know what I'm more impressed by, you as a black woman or your therapy techniques.
Joe, I hope you can forgive me for what a fool I was.
We all think you're completely crazy, but we also think you're a freaking genius.
You are a better black woman than I am, okay?
But in Laquisha, it's even worse given that Joe's main personality trait is not written well at all. And writing characters that respond to terrible advice with flowers, cash tips, admiration, citywide approval, and even sex is hilariously delusional. Especially since this is a radio show, one that started late at night. In 2019, where all kinds of alternatives are made for the radio. Spotify, YouTube, podcasts on God knows how many services. Pandora, streamers, SiriusXM, Twitch, all of these alternatives used by people and businesses every day. But Laquisha somehow has become such a sensational celebrity that the likes of Oprah Winfrey's network have acknowledged her. It's not difficult to become a local celebrity, I guess, but no local celebrity just gets a talk show on television that easily. This would all be fixed by good comedy, but the humor... Oh my god.
No, I'm telling you, my belly is full. I couldn't eat another thing. You know what the doctor said about fasting too much?
You're live with Loqueesha.
Thanks for coming in.
Then what was that?
I think I might be a black woman trapped in a white man's body.
You're gay?
No, I'm not gay. I'm just very confused right now. I've been going through some very odd changes, Rachel.
Are you pre-op transgender?
No, I'm very much this gender, and I am not swapping out parts. Are you blackmailing me?
No, I'm black femaling you.
Is this really peak comedy for people? Anyone could write this. It's not genius. Maybe I don't have a good point of reference for comedy. After all, people are still giving me guff for not liking Modern Family Guy, so what the fuck would I know? I know that the contrarians still aren't going to be happy, but I don't particularly care. Anyone who tries to convince me that this film is actually good without the controversy, I mean, I'm not here to police your opinion. You can like this movie all you want. I'm not gonna take that away from you, but I'm definitely not gonna agree. And there's a part of me that just doesn't believe that these reviews are legitimate. There's too much holding this film back from being good. The script is terrible. I mean, I love bad movies, but this doesn't even deserve to stand with the so bad they're good films. I compared this to The Room a few times, but only on the very basic similarities. At least The Room is pretty consistently funny, even though it wasn't even trying to be a comedy. The writing and acting just happened to translate into better comedy than anything Laquisha had. I think the only times I laughed were during the weird split personality debacle, because how strange it was, and I mostly was laughing at my friend's misery because he completely regretted ever suggesting this film to me. That's it! And I can already picture some of the comments I'm about to receive, because I got them all the time on the Family Guy video. It's a comedy. Stop trying to analyze it. Just because your film is a comedy doesn't give you a hall pass or even exempt you from criticism in certain areas. It's still a film and it has its fair share of problems worth addressing. Now, there are parts of this that I do agree with, because I obviously look at comedies differently than I would a serious drama or an action thriller. Comedies heavily rely on actual comedic writing than the narrative, which is usually there to help guide that writing along. Lots of other elements help as well. A good film uses the entire filmmaking arsenal, but your comedy is only as strong as the writing. No one analyzes Napoleon Dynamite and walks away thinking this is an insightful look into the life of a teenager. You're there for the weird, awkward moments between these weird characters. You don't watch City Lights for the breathtaking narrative of Charlie Chaplin trying to raise money to cure a woman's blindness. You're there for the slapstick and the goofiness. But even then, comedies also kind of exist on a spectrum, so I don't analyze them all the same way, which is where my issue with Laquisha lies. You'd be lying if you said that comedies don't try to aim for more than just being funny. Laquisha has a bunch of moments that are played very seriously, just like any other comedy would.
But thanks for calling. Enjoy your jump.
What?
You said you jumping.
I am.
I thank you for calling. I said enjoy your jump.
Can't you see I need help?
What I can see is somebody looking for some attention.
Why do you think romantic comedies exist? What about Why Did I Get Married Too? That starts out as a comedy with lots of cutesy romantic moments and comedy before people start getting divorced. People get caught cheating on each other. A guy breaks into his ex-wife's house and then dies in a car accident. Like, I'm sorry that people are bothered that I criticize comedies, but there are still things in them that are worth addressing. And I'm not just gonna overlook any of them because they're meant to be funny. I don't find Laquisha funny in any sense. So without that comedy, all I'm looking at is just a bunch of scenes that have no humor and don't have anything cogent holding it up. It's a whole mess of nothing. It's flawed at its core, and there's nothing about it that's even remotely good on any aspect. Nonsense. But that's not even half of this film's problems.
I am about to get racist. Now I'm racist!
Now, I feel slightly out of my element on this one, considering that I am definitely not a person of color in any way, shape, or form. I expect this isn't much of a shock to you guys. Not nearly as shocking as a black radio host turning out to be funny man Jeremy Seville, though I still want to try to look over this film's big race controversy, not only because there's a few extra things that I want to add, but also because the response made by Jeremy Seville about the controversy was, well, it wasn't great. So let me just set the stage real quick. The trailer for the film was dropped and the response was extremely negative, obviously due in part to the nature of the plot being presented. The like to dislike ratio for many of these uploads are a sight to behold. Twitter erupted into widespread criticism and people were not positively anticipating its official release. I think the trailer was enough to illustrate exactly what kind of experience you'd expect. Or so I thought. Looking at the Amazon reviews, it's weirdly split. One of the interesting elements of the film is that despite the controversy and the attention it got, Laquisha isn't widely acknowledged on review aggregates. The Metacritic score sits at a whopping 0.2 based on only 5 ratings and only 2 reviews. IMDb is higher, but still barely the amount of attention one might expect. However, the trivia section for this page on IMDb was just an absolute shit show at one point. It was completely vandalized, and one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen.
Oddly, this did not come out in the 1960s.
Jeremy Saville originally wanted to appear in blackface on the poster, but his wife talked him out of it. She took her life shortly after the trailer was released.
The director saw Green Book and was inspired to make a bigger disaster of a movie about race.
This film marks the first time in history that far-right news outlets boycotted a movie for being too racially insensitive, even for them.
Much like the existence of dinosaurs, many people hold the belief that this film was a trick by the devil to get people to doubt the existence of God.
Robin Williams was originally attached to star, but took his own life after shortly reading the script in 2015.
This movie's shoe polish budget was over $200,000.
Bill Cosby's final film appearance. It seems like the most negative consensus came from Twitter and Letterboxd, since this sits in the top 10 of the site's Anti-250, which is the site's 250 lowest rated films of all time, where Laquisha sits at number 6. But when you look at Amazon Prime's listing, you see mostly positive reviews compared to negative. And looking through some of these accounts, one of my suspicions was realized, since there are an interesting amount of 5-star reviews from Amazon users that have little to no activity on the site. Some of these accounts review a couple of products here and there, but have Laquisha as the only film reviewed on their page. Some have only ever reviewed one product on Amazon ever, that being Laquisha. Hell, I found one account that gave Jeremy Saville's other feature-length film called The Test a 5-star review, made right around the time it was first released. This was followed by 2 reviews of other random products until I reached the very last review on their account, which was a 5-star review of Loqueesha. Some of the 5-star reviews seem like they're generally built on a contrarian premise as well, telling readers that the movie is only hated because SJWs got their panties triggered. I mean, obviously, given Laquisha's story, this would attract the attention of social justice activists and allies, and with that negative press usually comes a group of people who want to argue that this film is actually progressive and very pro-equality. Or, you know, the anti-SJWs who latch onto anyone and anything that attacks a social justice viewpoint.
There are a lot of people out there that are going to tell you you shouldn't watch this movie based upon the concept, based upon the left-wing reaction to the trailer, and I'm going to tell you should watch it because those people clearly didn't, and I think are coming at this film with like literally the worst of intentions, when if you watch it, you can outright see that is not the case whatsoever.
Now, I don't personally think that Jeremy Saville was attempting to appeal to this crowd, or at least I don't think that was an intentional decision. In an article that highlights some of Saville's comments, he says that he's glad that so many people are able to see the film, which I can understand, given that this is more than likely the big boom of his career. It's very likely that he thought this would be on the same level as like a goofy comedy made by some comedians like Will Ferrell or Kevin Hart. I think he just wanted to make a comedic film that people would laugh at, nothing more and nothing less. I'm not about to assume the worst of him, since that doesn't really serve my video, though the rest of the article, he attempts to rationalize and argue in his favor. Now keep in mind as we go along that this statement and the controversy at the time occurred because of the trailer. The film was not viewable yet. First and foremost, let's start with the name of the film. Loqueesha. Many critics have cited the name being racist in and of itself, with one person on Twitter even saying that the name is specifically coded to portray this imaginary black woman as ghetto. I'd say my biggest contention is the fact that it goes the extra mile into offensive territory. Laquisha is a very real name, and it'd be one thing if that's what the film was called, or, you know, any other random female name that you could think of. But spelling it wrong and pronouncing it wrong and making it sound far more stereotypical is kind of pushing it. Saville says that the name just came to him out of the blue. IMDb also claims that it's supposed to be a play on the word loquacious, which means someone that talks a lot. I didn't even pick up on this until I rewatched the film for this review.
My mama, she called me Loquacious Loqueesha. She said I have the gift of gab.
But even then, this doesn't really help his case. Why would you feel the need to do this in the first place, intentionally misspelling a name like Laquisha to make it sound more stereotypical? Sure, why not? I'm white. Second and most obvious, the fact that the character of Joe is impersonating another race under a very exaggerated and stereotypical persona and becoming a beloved radio icon. Saville's response was to say that every concern people had is addressed in the film, and that there's more more to it than what the critics are portraying. There didn't seem to be any further elaboration on this, maybe because he just wanted people to watch or purchase the movie. I mean, I hope the sales were worth it, but I don't think this is even an excuse that works. Just because you address it in the film doesn't mean that the offensive nature at hand is resolved. In fact, every element that is addressed in the film could still be littered with issues that would need further addressing. So I don't think anyone really cares if these concerns are addressed in your film, especially now that the movie is released and we can see how terribly you addressed the talking points of the movie. The core concept was already widely disliked, since it's some white guy who pretends to be a black woman just to get around a job requirement, basically taking a job from a minority woman who could be easily qualified. The fact that this is already nearly identical to the setup of Soul Man is kind of alarming. A lot of the primary issues of race that are addressed in the film feel like baseline commentary as well, like this scene where Laquisha tells it like it is to this angry white guy, which is a very unnatural scene with terrible dialogue. The subject of the commentary doesn't even behave the way he should. The film also has 3 black characters who discover Joe's ruse. There's the producer, who doesn't really seem to get why he's doing what he's doing, but then enthusiastically jumps on board after the first show. And of course there's Renee, the woman on both of the posters who didn't even really show up at all in the film. She gets her introductory scene and then shows up in the background of most other scenes until the end of the film where she has her big meltdown.
You like the Romans who nailed up our Lord and Savior. You a murderous Cretan, and I'm God, so that's what I'm talking.
She's pretty insultingly given the shaft by wanting to take over the show, but fails at her job and then admits to Joe that he's a better black woman than her.
You are a better black woman than I am, okay? I said it.
I'm sure that went over well with the people who were pissed off with the trailer, especially since this character was supposedly written to be an original Loqueesha fan who admired the show, but when she took over, she admits to hating her job and hating listening to everyone's problems.
I'm tired of listening to all your pathetic stories. You're just a bunch of weak people trying to suck my power, and I'm not having it anymore.
And then we have the love interest who calls Joe out for being racist and misogynistic, and then she gets over it pretty quickly and sleeps with him. Most of the time when any of the race topics are addressed, it's never handled in a meaningful or sensitive manner. Joe tells Renee that Laquisha was never supposed to be about race, gender, or fame, but the fact that Joe took a job from any number of equally qualified minority women diminishes that sentiment, and when the love interest calls him out for his insensitive stereotypical persona, his excuse amounts to that's just what people wanted.
You know, I might be a fake and a phony, but I am the most authentic one you will ever meet.
I don't know what conclusions I can draw from the message, because every time the big topic is addressed, it's just dismissed or played down to the point where the black characters seem like they're in the wrong for objecting to it. When Renee calls him out, she takes over and fails so bad that Joe gives her a lecture.
She was never meant to be outrageous. She's not a goddamn reality show or a shock jock or a clown. She listens to people, helps them on their journey. A little compassion, humor, and most of all, the unadulterated truth so they can cut through all the shit in their lives, which is a rare, precious, and much-needed thing. And you fucked it all up.
Okay.
I don't know how you can just dismiss people's concerns about their race being portrayed in your film like this so casually. I don't know if there's been any other further attempts to explain himself, but just a standard "my movie already answers this" doesn't work. None of it was answered sufficiently, and now it just feels like there was no real attempt to answer for the controversy. Something that you'd kind of have to expect from a white guy who is already making a film that heavily focuses on race. And then there's the next big element regarding his performance, namely the voice he uses. Seville brought up a few examples to both defend himself and possibly demonstrate why it's not that big of a deal. The first example is an SNL sketch with Louis C.K. called This Is How I Talk. The sketch has him performing a similar character. It was met with laughter and applause. Gee, Billy, why does your mom let you be a racial stereotype? To say that this comparison is stupid is a bit of an understatement. Sure, there's a similar premise, but the execution isn't even comparable.
Wow, is that how she really talks?
I'm paying your asses to work, which means your asses better be working.
Okay, dude, don't.
Because if you
For one, Laquisha has Joe specifically devise the Laquisha persona of his own volition. It was created because he realized that impersonating a woman in a minority would get him easy access to the job he wanted. In the SNL sketch, Louis C.K. was a random new hire who gets caught doing an impersonation of his boss, played by Leslie Jones. The whole joke is that he was being an asshole, but then panics under pressure and immediately creates the lie that he actually talks this way in order to avoid losing his job.
So you're saying this is how you actually talk?
I'm talking like my mama taught me to talk, and if you clowning on my mom, then you's about to get bounced.
Now he has to keep pretending like he actually talks like this whenever his boss is around.
That was close. I don't know how long I could keep this up.
Sure, the central joke is white guy does a black woman voice, and I'm not about to say the skit is comedy gold, but it's competently written and knows what it's doing, which is partly why I would give this sketch a pass. No one is filleting Louis C.K.'s character or playing along with the stereotype. Pretty much everyone is actively against it or responds to it negatively. He doesn't even get away with it at the end like Joe does.
Oh my god, well, this is how I really talk, so I guess I don't have to keep pretending like I talk like you.
Bitch, I knew you was fake! Get your broke ass out of here, old fake ass fronting for 5 years. You're gone!
His other example is White Chicks. Jeremy Seville actually cited this movie to defend himself. White Chicks has a very similar concept, and that film included physical transformation as well. How unaware could one man possibly be? This has to be the most tone-deaf thing I've heard in quite a while. Now, I don't even remotely like White Chicks as a movie, but it doesn't even exist in the same category as Laquisha. A physical transformation from the Wayans brothers into two white girls is nowhere near what Laquisha offers. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Marlon Wayans probably has more of a stake in this conversation than I do, because he was extremely unhappy to hear about this comparison.
You know what I mean? When it's even playing field, we can start laughing together. But until then, you ain't gonna exploit us and do us like that because we ain't comfortable. And if you're gonna do it, then you better find the right way to do it. Don't slap some bullshit together and think that this is gonna work because your interpretation is not authentic. Your interpretation is something that's offensive. Then you're gonna come with a title like Loqueesha. It's like, yo, if you just called the lady Lisa, and then you had a great voice, and there was a positive message, but instantly you gonna go Loqueesha, black women like, holla. Now, if it's authentic and it's funny, it's different. But a good joke means that the people that you're making fun of is laughing the loudest. Then it's not about stereotypical. Exactly. Now you're creating a character that we go, okay, let me see what this is about. Right. It's off-putting when you start with Loqueesha, and now he doing the voice, and he sound like this. It's not authentic. Right. You need to go sit down with some black women. You need to study.
This is a sentiment that I really want to sink in. I'm not the kind of person who thinks that humor like this should be off limits. Just understand what it is that you should be doing. Is this concept impossible to make funny? No, in the hands of a better comedian, you could probably make it work. But Laquisha is a sloppy mess of a film, and I don't even care about the low production at this point. I just want to know why something like this was not handled with care. And I think what's worse here is that Jeremy Seville attempted something like this before, and it seemed far more focused in this regard. Back in 2009, over a decade before Laquisha ever released, Jeremy Seville uploaded a political comedy sketch on his YouTube channel called The Candidate.
Trisha, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I'm a man of staunch conviction. I live by my own principles, and I do not shift like the wind in order to placate any one person or group.
The premise is simple. He's a presidential candidate who is being accused of pandering to minority voters, an accusation he denies before people start asking him questions. This sketch contains the hot embers of what would eventually stoke the flames of Laquisha.
When the government has just completely screwed up our economy.
Okay, first off, I want to tell you that I have been there, okay? I've been down with the people. I don't know if you know this or not, but there was a time that I had to go on welfare because my man had left me, okay? And there was nothing else for me to do.
What's shocking to me is that even though he's just doing stereotypical characters and impersonating another person's accent, I would almost say that this sketch is far more focused on a precise joke. It's political commentary at the end of the day, and it's not even particularly funny, but I get what he's going for.
Don't we have the right to enjoy this country?
I feel your pain, bro, because my father wasn't from this country. So it was hard for him to get a job because he couldn't speak the language. So if you vote for me, assuming you got your green card, I got your back. ¿Qué hace? Viva la gente.
I get the joke he's making. I get exactly what he's poking fun at apart from the silly voices, and somehow that level of self-awareness to comedic writing didn't translate into Laquisha. There doesn't seem to be that big of a statement being made apart from things that we brought up earlier in this video, or from very loose messages like people only want to hear from people who aren't white men?
See, they want women and minorities. They don't want white guys like me telling them what to do.
Something I don't even find all that objectionable or correct given how easy it is for anyone of any race or gender to make their thoughts heard through the internet. If a stupid white guy like me can amass 13,000 subs and people acknowledge what I have to say, then you can certainly do it too. And I don't even go out of my way to be overtly political. Now again, I don't consider myself even remotely qualified to discuss these matters, and I'm not about to police comedy, let alone offensive and dark comedy. I'd be a hypocrite to say that I don't listen to offensive comedians.
My mom actually should have been on one of the planes that crashed on 9/11. I think.
But if you're going to attempt something like this, you just have to understand your audience and know what jokes to write and how to write them, or else you've got a shit movie or a shit performance or a shit set of jokes. This isn't even me being a whiny SJW, I'm just not impressed by offensive comedy that has no rhyme or reason. I've had to delete a few videos, mostly my live streams, due to the fact that people would just come in and drop colorful and offensive language, just because they thought that it was funny and it wasn't even their stream so they could get away with it. Since then, I've denounced and deleted all of the content that included anyone doing this. Anyone can be offensive, anyone can tell a racist joke, anyone in the goddamn world can write a racist joke off the top of their heads right now. But how much time did you put into it? Who do you think you're gonna amuse with the joke? A general audience of people who want to laugh, or just yourself, or the few people that also laugh at this offensive joke? Was there structure to it, or did you just drop a racial slur for shock value? Everyone needs a laugh. Everyone needs humor in their lives. But what do you hope to accomplish with baseline statements on American culture with barely any meaningful writing to show for it? A good comedian knows how to accomplish this, especially comedians who can approach the topic of race and stereotypes naturally. So when I see a 5-star review of this movie that tries to assure me how great and thought-provoking Laquisha is, I just can't even bother taking it seriously. I don't believe anyone actually finds something with this low amount of effort to be worthy of a perfect score. I gave this film a shot and I got nothing out of it. It's not funny, it's not a good film, and above all else, it's leaning on the back of its own garbage racial comedy, and it's pretending to be more meaningful than it actually is, which I find even more offensive. And all of this and then some is why Laquisha is one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Foolish Ginger, I demand you cease your monotone ramblings.
Who the fuck are you?
'Tis I, the great creator, the author of all of existence, the mastermind behind all that is, was, and ever will be, the—
Cool, your god, I get it. The joke's already stale, my friend.
Jokes! What would you know about jokes, you literal embodiment of armpit? You've already made the holy shit list for bad-mouthing the grand works of funny man Seth MacFarlane.
Okay.
You've done it now! You've gone and made me all steamy-weemy.
What do you want? This smells like a bad Doug Walker bit.
For daring to badmouth the works of my son, Jeremy Seville, the second coming of Christ, I will be forced to unleash the 11th plague!
You wouldn't.
I already have! Coming soon to the nearest Betamax retailer!
No!
Loqueesha 2!